What's up, everyone? Have you ever wanted a Nintendo 3DS system in the modern day? Well, if you've ever looked online for Nintendo 3DSs, you've probably seen the extremely high prices, and you've probably thought, why is this 15-year-old video game handheld this much money? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain the real reason why the Nintendo 3DS is worth so much money now. The Nintendo 3DS was released on March 27, 2011, in Japan a month earlier on February 26th, and in Europe on March 25th, 2011, for $250, which is crazy. At that time, you could buy a Wii for $100 cheaper, since Nintendo lowered the price of the Wii to $150 in the May of 2011. So from the beginning, the 3DS was also quite expensive. But the original model was small, but with a bigger top and bottom screen than its predecessor, the DS. But the 3DS's main gimmick was glasses-free 3D gaming, which was probably why the thing costed so much at launch. But the price was then dropped in August 12, 2011, from the high $250 to $170, as much as the DSi first costed. And the fans who bought the 3DS at launch were rewarded with ambassador features, like an ambassador certificate with 10 free NES games and 10 free GBA titles, which are the only way you could play GBA games on the 3DS. People also turned around and started selling their ambassador 3DSs for a lot of money. The 3DS then got lots of updates and was selling well after the price drop. Nintendo dropped updates like adding the eShop in June of 2011 and released a lot of great games. In August of 2012, Nintendo released the bigger 3DS XL, which was a larger console, which was more comfortable and had 90% larger screens, and launched for $200, but came with a lot of cool colors. After people didn't like the 3D effect of the 3DS, Nintendo released a model of the 3DS without the 3D effect called the 2DS, and was only released for $140, and was the cheapest model you could buy. Although it dropped the foldable clamshell design that the other 3DS and DS models were known for, it also had one big screen, but was made to look like it was two. The 2DS saw a lot of price drops, for being lowered from $100 in 2015, and then down to just $80 in 2016. My first ever video game console was the 2DS, which came with Mario Kart 7, which was also the first ever video game I ever played. In 2015, Nintendo made a new model with a horrible name, the new Nintendo 3DS, because it was new. Well, not new anymore. It's 11 years old now. The new 3DS featured better processing power than any of the other 3DS models, a better, more stable 3D experience with a face tracking 3D, and even a C-stick, or nub, since it didn't really feel like a stick and wasn't all that great for camera control. They could have just added another circle pad, they had room for it, but it's fine. The new 3DS released February 13th as the XL model and only cost $200. With the regular-sized new 3DS releasing in September of 2015 with different removable faceplates that you could get. The last 3DS model Nintendo ever released was the new Nintendo 2DS XL, which was a foldable, new design for the Nintendo 2DS, without the 3D effect. It had the same features the other new models had, but without the 3D. It was also $150, and released a few months after the Switch released in March of 2017. While the 3DS was out, it was relatively cheap. But in 2017, when the 3DS was dying out since the Switch had taken over, fewer games were released for it, with the last and final 3DS game Nintendo ever published being Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey, releasing in 2019. After that, Nintendo discontinued the 3DS, and when they did, prices started to go up, because it sold half the DS's total sales, 150 million, selling only 74 million units in its life. Anyone who never had a 3DS wanted one. But when 2023 came around, prices skyrocketed up, being usually $300 to $400. This was because the eShop was going to be discontinued in March of 2023 for both the Wii U and the 3DS. Wii U prices went up a little, but 3DS prices were the real deal. Demand was high because so many people wanted one, either because they wanted to buy a ton of eShop games before it died out, or people whose 3DSs broke wanted a 3DS to play again, since the games are so amazing. Which, yes, games for the 3DS also went up in price too, much like the GameCube, since that system got really expensive in 2020. With that, the system's games got into the hundreds of dollars. 3DS's games usually now sell for $20 to $50 depending on which game it is. The Pokemon games are getting quite expensive, since they're Pokemon games obviously. Those games always get expensive. And many more like Kid Icarus Uprising, which is a very good game, is now usually $80.
Whoa!
Same with games like Tomodachi Life, which is now getting a sequel in a few days. But now, let's get to the main part of the video. Why the 3DS is so expensive. It's simple, high demand. Since the 3DS only sold half of its predecessor, and people really wanted to play the system's games, since they are quite good, the 3DS has shot up in price. If Nintendo bought the 3DS back, it probably would sell well. But that is not going to happen now that it's discontinued. There's a lot of people who want to collect games for the 3DS since it is seen as the greatest video game handheld by a lot of people. So that's why the 3DS is so expensive. A lot of great games and a really high demand for those games in the system. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.